Hello
Hello
there.
there.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Jedi Archives, the Bad Batch After Show. Today we are reviewing episode 14. My name is Jonathan. Anyone?
Mike, Mike,
Uh-oh. I'm Mike.
and I'm Bryce.
And today's episode is called Flash Strike. I think it was called, right?
Yes.
Flash Strike.
Flash Strike. Correct.
Yes. Let's get into it. What are
All
our
right. So this episode opens up continuing exactly from where episode 13 left off, which, if you'll recall, Clone Force 99 had just attached themselves underneath the science
science
frigate
vessel?
just before it launched into hyperspace. So they're stuck underneath, and Echo's inside, who managed to disengage the sensors, and that's how they're able to attach. And now they're going through hyperspace. So this episode opens up with them in hyperspace, about to exit as they're approaching the Wayland facility on Tantus. And Echo is still inside the science frigate, and the rest of the Bad Batch plus Rampart are inside the stolen Lambda shuttle, um, tagging along for the ride underneath. Hunter decides that they will have to disengage from the frigate, and Echo will just have to find his way out on his own
Mhm.
from the science vessel. Which
Well,
I like that because it shows that they really do trust every individual's abilities. So he knows he doesn't have to micromanage it. He knows Echo can take care of himself, as can Wrecker, as can they all can. So I like that a lot.
I'm sure we're about to get into it right now, but thought it was really interesting how the Empire, yeah, already knew that they were there. I'm like, how did they know that? So that was
Yeah.
they don't
Well,
explain it.
yeah,
They
there's a
just know.
security breach, and they knew it was Clone Force 99 that was with Rampart. So obviously, security cameras and everything confirmed.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah. So, but just before that, because Crosshair does warn Hunter, because remember Crosshair was on the planet and he escaped, and he warns Hunter that the jungle is deadly. And Rampart's like, oh, he pleads with Hunter, listen to Crosshair, but
I just
Hunter
one quick note
doesn't.
on that last thing I was saying. So, do transmissions go faster than light speed? It
Mm,
must be, right? But I didn't know you could. So I thought that was really interesting.
What do you
They
mean trans?
already they already knew on Tantus that Clone Force 99 was on its way. The Clone Force 99 was already in light speed.
They were in
So
hyperspace, yeah.
hyperspace, I mean, yeah. So transmission. This is something I learned, which I thought was fascinating. I didn't know that. Transmissions must be faster than hyperspace, which I
Unless
didn't
they
think they
have
were.
unless they have little transmission responders, because remember in the High Republic, they couldn't reach communication to the outer reaches, or the it's called the mid rim at the time.
Well, which is
They
even
had
more fascinating. Which that even if it has to daisy chain, it's still faster than hyperspace.
if it daisy chains through hyperspace lanes, though, that's what I'm thinking.
no, because a signal would travel through open space. Would travel through open space. So
In our universe, but maybe in the Star Wars universe, they can travel
right.
hyperspace lanes.
I mean, if we think about how long it took for the rover to land on Mars versus the transmission we got from it when it was there, the transmission took way less time than actually getting there. And I understand we're also dealing with hyperspace and everything like that, but transmissions through a radio frequency are going to move extremely fast.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Something I
Hmm.
learned. I always
You know
like
what?
learning new stuff in Star Wars universe.
Well, because the limitations of light speed are only on physical matter, not on sound waves.
Correct.
Yeah. So, meanwhile, inside the Tantus facility, Scorch tells Hemlock that there was a security breach on the science vessel and that Clone Force 99 infiltrated the Imperial station on Coruscant with the help of Rampart. So, yeah, they probably had security cameras or they figured it out somehow. Uh, Hemlock orders Scorch to monitor the airspace around Tantus and the science vessel and puts the planet on high alert. Hunter disengages from the frigate and they're spotted by 6 fighters, which is not standard formation, as noted by Crosshair. So he already knows that they know that they're there. They were expecting them. They swoop down towards the planet, but laser cannons hit them, and before they crash, they abandon ship by rappelling into the jungle. So Rampart is terrified. His cable gets stuck, but luckily Wrecker shoots him down, and he catches him as he falls. And I thought that was pretty funny. And he's got his little scream. It's almost a Wilhelm, but he
Yeah,
got him.
it was interesting. What do you want me to do? It's like, oh,
Jump.
yeah. I thought it was a chance for them to get rid of him. Actually, I'm like, you don't need him anymore.
They don't need him anymore.
They kind of referenced that when Wrecker and Hunter or Wrecker and Crosshair are talking. He goes, "Well, should we try to find him?" He goes, "Hunter will find us." He goes, "We need to keep going towards the base because that's what Hunter would do." And then lo and behold, here comes Hunter, and he goes, "Well, did Rampart make it?" And he's like, "Unfortunately."
Yeah, that was funny.
So yeah, they're definitely dogging on him, which I they totally have the right to do.
And they're shoving him a lot too. I noticed they keep pushing him, and he's like, "Oh," because he's lollygagging.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So then we go inside the vault, right? We transition to that, and we see Omega with the Force-sensitive children, and they feel the blasts of the cannons. And Omega senses that it's her brothers who have come to the rescue. She tells them, "Oh, it's my brothers. They've come for me," because they promised her. Then we quickly go back to the science vessel, and we see that it's arrived and it's docked. And Hemlock orders that the entire ship and crew be searched. Echo decides to use the down stormtrooper's armor to infiltrate the base unnoticed. Very reminiscent of how Luke and Han were able to board the Death Star unnoticed in A New Hope by putting on the stormtrooper armor.
It's funny because as soon as Hemlock said, "Search and scan everyone," I immediately was like, well, Echo's going to have to wear that uniform of the guy who just knocked out. Instantly thought it. And then it goes to him, and he looks at it, I was like, I knew it. So it's kind of cool. They've done it before in Star Wars. So I'm like, you might as well do it again.
That's a Star Wars MO for sure.
What made it better was that he still went out and he did his thing on the terminal, and then that AP droid says something and he shoots it, and then he looks down at the hand and he goes, "Oh," and then he attaches MacGyver's the hand onto his. So that was cool. To where he would pass, he could still take it off and access terminals. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That was cool because it completed his disguise. Because at first it's like, I thought he's just gonna hold it under the gun, but eventually somebody might notice. But with that robotic hand, he's like, oh, problem solved.
Right.
So in the jungle, Crosshair tells Wrecker he never wanted to return, but Omega did not leave him when she could have, so he owes it to her. And then Rampart reminds him that they're the same, that they're both holding out for themselves, to which Crosshair says that he's changed because the Empire betrayed them both. But Crosshair's like, I don't believe it.
Right.
So Scorch's team is searching the wreckage, but they find no bodies. So, of course, the hunt continues for the Bad Batch on foot through the dense forest of Tantus. Meanwhile, on the science vessel, Echo is searching the computer for Omega's location. He's discovered by a protocol droid, which is the one that we just mentioned, and then he blasts that one and takes his hand. He evacuates the ship the same way that he boarded, via the droid chute, and he falls in line behind a group of troopers that have already been scanned. And then he makes his way to find out where Omega is being held. Now, back in the vault, Doctor...
Yeah, where he thinks, I don't know if it's where she's being held, but it's any evidence where she's been. Because it takes him to the lab. It doesn't take him to the vault.
Right, to the lab.
So I thought that was interesting, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
because I don't think he knows that she's now in a different section.
Well, he looked it up on the computer, and so the computer led him to the lab. So I thought it was interesting that led him to the lab instead of leading him to the vault.
I think he just did a search for Omega, and then it just popped up wherever she was.
Right. I don't think the vault's probably on the manifest.
No,
probably.
It's top secret. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he back at the vault, Dr. Carr has left Dr. Scalder in charge while she attends to something else. And then Dr. Scalder's like, "Oh, you don't need to worry about, I've got this under control."
Well, she said the children, watch the children, and then Scalder says, "You don't need to worry about the assets."
Right.
Yeah. I was like, ooh.
Yeah. Well, and the children themselves, they notice that the routines and protocols are not being followed, right? Because things aren't as they should be per the schedules. Omega
Right.
lets them know that she has to find out what's going on, so she escapes the vault and she tells the others to cover for her, right? And they're like, "Cover you? What is that?" So she has to explain to them because they're not used to that language. But she's training them. She's giving them their own little training to be little rebels themselves. Uh, so then we transition back to the forest, and Rampart's tired of traveling by foot, so he decides to take a break. Unfortunately for him, he rests against a Dryax, the
That was
massive
cool.
their
Dryax.
panther-like predator, right? The ones that we first saw in episode 3 when Omega and
Yep.
Foster escaped. But at that time, they had the the hounds to protect them, but now they don't have anything. So
Right.
he backs away quickly as the Dryax wakes, and then he runs as it attacks them. Now the Clone Force 99 is they go right into attack mode, but the Dryax is a formidable foe, and he
Oh yeah.
manages to throw Wrecker pretty hard against a tree. You know, so hard in fact that Crosshair and Hunter have to help him up, and they refuse to shoot at it because they don't want to give up their location. Unfortunately, a group of troopers spots them with Ramparts whining. Um, so they start shooting, but the Dryax takes care of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Rampart manages to run away from the Bad Batch, but he falls, and of course he's captured by the troopers. So it won't be good for him.
I don't
Well,
know.
I think he's gonna take care of himself. I think he's gonna say, "I know what
Oh,
they're doing. I know what they're
tried.
doing. I'm gonna tell you about. Don't throw me back in prison." I don't think he might ask to be reinstated, but they won't offer that. They might just say, "We won't kill you."
I just think he wants. I think he wants his freedom, and I think he's going to put the Bad Batch as the bargaining chip to get his freedom. That's where I see it going. Um,
Yeah, because he already stated that he's out for himself.
yeah. Oh yeah. There was
Hmm.
no doubt there.
Hmm.
No doubt there.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back at the vault, Dr. Scalder makes her rounds, so she's starting a little bit late. She's got the medical droid, and the kids are worried because Omega hasn't returned yet. So Sammy tries stalling Scalder by telling her first that she's still hungry. And then what does Scalder do? There's a little kid saying, "I'm still hungry." She's like, "It'll pass." Right? So she has
Right.
no
Yeah.
care whatsoever for a child who's hungry. I'm like,
Mean.
man, she's cold blooded.
Yeah.
So then she does her whatever she needs to do, pricks her little finger, and then she goes to the next cell. And Eva tells Dr. Scalder that she doesn't feel well.
Right.
And then to that, she decides, well, you know what? Let's do a full body scan then. She directs the droid to do the scan, stalling for some time. So the kids are doing a pretty good job of stalling, even though Omega told them, you'll figure it out. She didn't tell them what to do, but she
Yeah,
left it up to them. So she's also trusting them the same way that the Bad Batch trusts one another in their team. So she's, it's good for team building for sure. Omega's got that strength. Then we cut to Omega, who's been crawling through this network where the little droids take all the,
The
samples.
the samples and everything, and she's going through and she spots a Zillo beast in another part of the facility as it's being lasered and hurt. Right, they're testing on it, and this is the one that the Emperor ordered captured and cloned back in season 2. So we haven't seen the Zillo beast in quite some time, but here it is. We finally see it again. Upon seeing this, she heads back to the vault. She's like, "Oh, this is big. This is really big." Uh, Meanwhile, back at the vault, Dr. Scalder tells Eva that she's fine. She got the results of the scan, and she proceeds to Omega Cell. And now it's Jax's turn to try to stall her, and he tells her, "Hey, can I be next?" And she's like, "Wait your turn." She doesn't care. She has no care for these children at all whatsoever.
Nope.
Um, She goes into Omega's cell. The droid goes in and turns around, and we're wondering, like, oh my gosh, will she be there? And of course, there she is. She made it just in time, just in the nick of time. She stares at them. She's got that glaring look, um, but she's able to run the test on her bed. Then we go to Echo, where he has entered the science facility because that's where the data showed him in the computer. And he finds Omega, and as he's searching through the computer there, um, Dr. Emery Carr walks in and she says, "Hey, troopers aren't supposed to be in here." But then she recognizes him and says, "Hey, wait a minute, you're Echo."
Yeah,
And she lets him know that Omega told her all about him. And then he reveals to her that Omega told him all about her as well. But he's not as trusting as Omega is. and he just can't believe that she will be part of this whole thing. And he tells her, "You're a clone, just like us. How can you do this against us?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then that's when Emery confesses that he will need her help if he plans to get Omega and the other children out safely. And at that, Echo's just shocked because he didn't know that there were other children. He's like, "What do you mean there's other
Right.
kids?" And so it seems like Emery is going to be an ally after all. So
I think it's a bait and switch.
you think so? I think
Mhm.
she's got a change of heart. I think it's a change of heart. So
I don't know if there's enough time left in one episode to do too many switches. So I don't think I think she's gonna try and help them. I did think one thing was interesting is what we didn't think was part of the plan. Another Bad Batch didn't think was part of the plan, but Echo wants to save everyone. And they have
Omega was the same way. She wanted to.
Oh yeah, I'm talking, but she's not the one running the mission. I mean, the Bad Batch, the guys that are running the mission, so they thought they're just going for Omega.
yeah.
And so, well, not just the children, but Echo wants everybody. And
Right.
I'm like, oh, that's a lot. So I think he has something up his
Rex was
sleeve.
the same way. I think
Yeah, I think
was the same way.
I think something's up his sleeve, and he's going to call Rex and back up. They're the cavalry in the next episode. So I think that's how
Well, I
they
think
get
Wolf
everyone.
joins them. I think we're gonna see Wolf join.
Because Wolf at this point is still part of the Empire, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But he's
he
a
leads
little
like
bit on
a
the fence. He's on the
hybrid
fence.
of clones and regular stormtroopers. Like
Right, but he's still serving the Empire.
Yeah.
right. But we know in Rebels that he moves on from that.
Right. But at this point, he's still part of the Empire. And then
But
we
I don't
saw
think he
him-
will be at the
we
end of
saw-
this episode.
Right, because we saw previously how he did let them go.
Yeah.
So he's already got a little change of heart. He's headed that way. So the very end of this, Omega tells the kids that she found something big, the Zillo beasts, and that she has a plan for getting them out, but it's going to require their teamwork to be successful. And with that, this episode ends, and we're left with the final episode next week for the exciting conclusion. So big cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't know how much more story they can do because they're going to have so much action in the next 20 minutes. So
I think next week will be longer.
Yeah,
I don't think they've released the time, have they? The time?
No, but I do know they like to put these on TV when they can, and so it'll be a little harder to put one that's longer than the normal 22 minutes. They could. I'm not saying they won't, but it's finding it really interesting that they've all been really stringent on that 21, 22 minutes so far. So why would they change now and kind of make it so you can't put it on TV and let's do some serious editing?
Or remember that they did the first episode was a double episode too, so they could always split a double episode into two different showings. So even if the last episode is 45 minutes or 50 minutes, they could always split it up. Because think about this episode 14 and 13, they could have played those as one episode because it goes directly into from one into the other. They go into hyperspace, they exit hyperspace. So it could have played as one episode. And actually, I don't know why they didn't put this one as a double episode because it would have made more sense than one of the other ones that they did double episode that had nothing to do with one another. So it's kind of strange how they decided to double them up that way. But
I don't think the story is, as I think we talked about last week, as big as I originally thought it was going to be. I think it's going to be much smaller scope and maybe Battle on Tantus. Obviously, Ramparts that probably sees his end. I'm assuming Tantus does too, but maybe not anymore. I don't really know. We're not going to see some ultimate clone battle, something I thought we would see, kind of what happens to the clones. We'll probably see a hit and run, and which is fine.
I think it's going to be a big revolt of all the clones on Tantus.
Could be.
Yeah, but I don't think we're going to see what happens to all the clones. Remember, there's no any clones allowed. And Rebels, which is only a few years later, so it's like something happens to all the clones. I don't think we're going to see them all die in this one. Like something happens to them.
Mm-hmm.
They all go out to a farm. So I don't really know what's going to happen. I just
the farm up in the sky.
Yeah, play with all the other clones in the farm. Yeah, so that's just my one little concern is that I don't know how much more story they can fit. What's left?
And yeah, one more episode. We can't
Yeah.
do much. They just need to wrap it all up. So, and
Well,
I
which
know
they
we're
can't do
gonna.
in 22 minutes.
No, they can't.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the same length episode. It just can't. It can't be.
It's got to be longer for sure. I agree.
Maybe 35, 35
40
still.
something,
I mean,
but
that's
definitely
still.
not a 24-minute episode.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to be like a like a Mando episode, or an Ahsoka episode where it's a lot longer.
And then for sure we're gonna get the Zillow Beast doing something.
That's what I'm saying. We got the Zillow Beast action. You're gonna have the breakout action. You're gonna have Rampart's thing. You're gonna have Emery's thing. I mean, there's a lot going on still. I was like,
We're gonna have Asajj coming back. We're gonna.
You're not gonna see Asajj again.
We'll see.
I really wanted to see Boba Fett, but it's way too late to see Boba Fett now. But,
He's not gonna come out.
yeah, I thought we had a chance when we saw Daniel Logan voice Mox or whatever, but nothing's happening.
Maybe we'll get Mox again. Maybe he somehow makes his way to Tantus.
He'll be part of that.
Rex goes and picks him up, and the other two, and Batcher, and they all make their way.
The Avengers Endgame. They all just start showing up.
What I mean, you kind of. I mean, yeah, kind of. I mean, there's still things that are like
Asajj.
If Asajj shows up, cool. If she doesn't,
Obi-Wan.
I'm okay with how they they did that. I don't think it retconned really anything that happened in the book. So I was okay if Asajj shows up and that's all she does. Maybe she shows up at the end and takes Omega. Who knows? That could be something that happens, but
she's not force sensitive. We talked about this.
Maybe Cal shows up and he takes her to the hidden planet.
Cal shows up.
Wouldn't that be something?
You know what? I'm laughing. That would be something. I would love it. So I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love to see Cal.
I think we kind of break the internet if Cal showed up. Like, just say he'd just show up. Yeah,
it would be cool to either get him animated or maybe in Ahsoka season 2 or something where it would fit. It would be kind of cool if he's still around after Return of the Jedi, obviously.
Or the movie that's coming out.
You'd have to be quite a bit older, right?
He would have, yeah. I mean, wait, are you talking about the Rey movie, or are you talking about
no, the
Mando movie,
the Ahsoka Mando one?
That's still what?
No, it's Ahsoka
15,
season
20 years
2,
later.
right? But it's still going to be Ahsoka season 2, and then the Mandalorian and Grogu.
Then Mando season 4.
And then Mando season 4.
The movie.
Well, the Rey movie is going to be out in between all of that, but I mean,
that's way later in the timeline.
Oh yeah.
But you'll be an old man.
I'm trying to think. I mean, Mando takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi, so if Cal showed up at all in any of that stuff post Return of the Jedi, he'd be old.
Yeah. Well, I'm all in for it. Maybe he ages slower. Who knows? Maybe he's a different species.
I don't think we'd see him I don't think we would see him in any properties until the 3rd installment of the Jedi games come out. Because I think that's his trilogy. And then after that, if they want to do storage, they could certainly bring him into live action or animation at that point.
Well, because we do have that one book. So, Battle Scars.
Yeah.
He could be Jude Law's character in Skeleton Crew. It's supposed to be Jude Law's character is an old Jedi that's palling around with kids around.
I don't think they confirmed he's a Jedi. He's just.
I thought it was
confirmed. I think he's a Force user, correct? I don't think they said he was a Jedi. I could be wrong.
I could be wrong too. I thought I heard he was Jedi though.
I don't know either way.
We haven't got a date on that yet, have we?
Mm-mm.
What, Acolytes in June? Acolytes in June.
Oh,
right?
And did you guys hear that Vanessa's going to be using her light whip?
Well, I would hope so.
They verified that in live action we will see Vernestra using her
It's going to
light.
be purple, huh? It's going to be the
It
second
has to be.
purple light. But no, it doesn't have to be.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. She can change the lightsabers in her 150-year span.
That's
And just
true. Luke
Mace
changed
Windu is
his.
supposed to be the
Luke-
only purple lightsaber. So I kind of like, oh.
He
man.
signed off on it, man. He signed off on it.
I didn't think he signed off on this. He'd only
He
sign off
owned
if he can get another show. He'd sign
Well-
off on it.
I have a purple kyber crystal, so there.
I must have to let Samuel L. Jackson know you have a purple crystal.
I do think that whole story about him lightsaber and asked George to have a purple one is,
Yeah,
is such a great story.
So I never want to see another purple one just because it makes it so unique. But even though I love Vernestra, I don't love bald Vernestra.
Well, wasn't Ty York's purple too?
A lot of the ones in purple. Yeah.
The High Republic, yeah, they've got a lot of purple.
But,
So, well, final.
all right, what are our final thoughts on the show before we get so lost on everything else? Like I said, it was good. I liked it. It's short, more setup, a little bit of action through the forest. I think they're spinning their wheels a bit. I'd like to get a little bit more on this one, but it is what it is. Can't change that. High expectations for the last episode. That's my concern. If they don't meet them, I might be a little disappointed. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't know. It can go in so many directions with characters and what happens to them. I really don't know what to expect. I think it's just going to be the whole time because they do got a lot of loose ends to wrap up.
Well, they already had a lot of loose ends to wrap up, and then they're going to introduce the Zillow. So it's like, let's get chew up more time. It was like we have so many things to wrap up.
I think it's really honestly the Zillow Beast thing is going to be like Harry, Ron, and Hermione on the White Dragon at Gringotts. They're gonna get on it. They're gonna get out. That's it. There's nothing more that needs to be done with that.
You think the kids are gonna ride the Zillow Beast out?
That's just my take. Is it's going to be a Ron, Hermione, and Harry thing?
Well, because remember, the kids are force sensitive, so it's very possible that they can
connect with
the beast.
Well, and we know that the little one can do. I think I can't remember the name, but the one
infant?
that got there right before. Yeah, I think that one showed that ability already. Am I not wrong there? Like tapped into the force pretty good. If I'm not
moved objects, yeah.
But they all have. We just haven't seen them use the force. I think we have to see them use the force in this last episode.
And who knows? Maybe Omega. That's where her force comes out, and she's able to.
We don't have time for Omega to have force. You gotta wrap this up. We don't have time for her to have force.
We had time for Sabine.
Yeah, we had time for Sabine.
Did we?
Happened at the right moment.
I saw this clip of when she was fighting on that tower at the end, and it's like, man, this is pretty. Did you see that clip where she's like fighting? And they focus on just like a 3-second clip, and it was bad. I'm like, you don't see it maybe it's like in the background, but she's like, it's so bad. I'm like, oh man.
My final words before we go off the rails here. So I did like this episode. I liked that it was quick and short, and then there was a lot happened in it really fast. It wasn't any wasted time, but I do have high expectations for this final episode. I want them to wrap things up for sure, and I do like that they brought up the Zillow Beast because I was thinking all along when they first introduced the Zillow Beast, thinking like, why the Zillow Beast again? But then this is a cool little nod to connect back to that, so that it wasn't just a one-off. It was actually built in, but I know it's going to be all for part of their escape. So like Bryce was saying, it's gonna cause a distraction. They're gonna let it loose, keep them occupied.
And maybe that's what it is too. Maybe they just free it, and it just wreaks havoc, and that's what covers them from escape.
Because remember, the Zillow Beast, they had said that it was sentient because it did not like Emperor Palpatine after it saw what it was doing. So the Beast knows who's been torturing it and who hasn't. So we'll see. We don't give it holocrons, but I think overall favorable, right? Favorable.
was all right.
I really liked it. Yeah, I
liked
liked the episode.
Hey, just overall, I'm concerned that we don't have enough time to wrap it up. I think they should have done more to wrap up storylines for us, but
Yeah.
so they give us more storylines. So
Who knows? Maybe we'll get Tales of the Clones.
Maybe.
Tales of the Clone Wars. I think that'd
We
be
got-
cool.
We got Tales of the Empire. We could still have a Tales
Tales
of
of the
Sith.
Jedi. We need Tales of the Sith. Yep. We
Tales
need
of the Republic. Yeah, and they can even do season 2 of Tales of the Jedi. And they don't have to go all, not circle back to it. I think we need more, and they need to be longer. No 6, 7. What are they? 7 minutes each episode, something like that. Yeah,
They're doing great. I like how they're doing it. That's why I think they could do a lot of different things quickly.
Yes.
And just give us little snippets. Like, everybody was up in arms because Tales of the Empire's got Morgan Elsbeth and Barriss Offee. I'm like, why wouldn't you want to know the story of Morgan? Because, like, prior to Mando season 2, I had no idea that Thrawn had somebody working for him like that. Like, I'm totally down for that.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Same here.
And Barriss, like, holy crap, man. The first thing I saw when Barriss was like, Mark Van Olen is going crazy.
He's going
now.
Because he's always talking about Barriss.
He is. Is she going to show up in the Ahsoka show? Is she going to show up here? Is she going to show up here? Well, dude, you got it now.
Is she the seventh?
Be sure you're following us on YouTube at Virtual Cantina Network, on Instagram. Others have to wait for it to come all over again. Virtual Cantina Network. Instagram at virtual.cantina network, on X, formerly Twitter, at Cantina Virtual, on Threads at virtual.cantina network, on Hive at Virtual Cantina, and on TikTok at Virtual Cantina. And the VCN Star Wars Celebration Japan 2025 page, Facebook page.
We go to get all the information for Celebration, which tickets are going to sell real soon. This is becoming our season.
Week from tomorrow.
So it's a big. Well,
very, very.
Actually,
cool
they went on sale a few weeks ago.
No, this is airing tomorrow.
No, this is. Oh, this is the after show. You're right. Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, we're airing.
We do a lot of recording.
Please don't edit that out because I've
got
really
the
want
calendar.
That. Yeah.
And shout out to our two sister pages, Star Wars Comic Book Nerds and Star Wars Comic Book Club.
He froze at the perfect moment.
All right, we're losing connection, so let's wrap this up. Thank you for listening. Please comment. We want to talk to you guys as much as we can. May the force be with you.
May the force be with you.